In the last video, I told you about how I met Uncle Twotrees. Today, I'm going to tell you how I came to see the plant world for the very first time. But before I begin, do you remember the secret words you must say before entering the secret world? I promise to love and protect all living things, especially plants, flowers, and trees. I suggest you write these words down, but keep them hidden until the next video. And this is what Uncle Twotrees told me to do. I want you to close your eyes and relax and just imagine sitting on a grassy hillside on a summer's day watching the swallows and passing fluffy white clouds, came the voice in my head. Have you got the picture in your mind? Yes, I replied, feeling the excitement building up inside of me. Then open your eyes. I was not prepared for the blaze of colours that confronted me. The sky was bluer, the grass was greener than I could ever have imagined. Slowly I looked around and I began to recognise the shape of the buildings, the greenhouses and the sheds, for it was an exact copy of my garden centre, but much, much smaller, just like Legoland. I then felt a shiver go down my spine as I noticed hundreds of little plant people all surrounded by rainbows. They hadn't seen me as they were busy carrying flowers and plants that were 10 times more colourful than those in the human world. I just stood there with my mouth open. Even the old oak tree was there. Oh no, I thought, and suddenly felt a moment of panic whereupon the plant world disappeared and I found myself back in the human world, afraid that the old oak tree had been destroyed in the hurricane. What a relief when I looked round and saw it standing there, with hundreds of birds singing in the branches that had been protected during the hurricane. I now wanted to see the plant world again, but I was afraid that it had all been a dream. I tried concentrating very hard, but nothing happened. Maybe it had been a dream after all, but surely not. I tried again, but nothing happened. Then a tiny voice came into my mind, telling me to relax and to remember the colours. As I did so, a smile came across my face and I was instantly back in Plant World, surrounded by colourful characters who could now see me. So they waved and shouted, "Pleased to meet you," but carried on working. You'll soon get to meet everyone as they all have stories to tell you. But at the moment they have to collect all the damaged plants in your human world. What will they do with them? I asked. I'll explain that another time, as right now I need Widget to work out how we're going to repair all the buildings. I soon learned that Widget was the odd job man who could turn his hand to absolutely anything that needed repairing or building. His hands were permanently stained with oil and he was nearly bald under his pink hat because he kept scratching his head when thinking, and hair doesn't like being massaged with engine oil, iron filings and sawdust. He always carried a belt around his waist from which hung tools of all shapes and sizes. His trousers and shirt were a mass of pockets full of things that may come in handy one day. He always carried a pencil in his left ear and rolled up sheets of paper tucked into his Wellington boots for noting things. He soon arrived and said, "How do? It's great to meet you at last. I'm Widget, the handyman." "Oh, it's very nice to meet you," I said with my mind. "Just excuse me for a minute, will you?" he said and disappeared, then reappeared again a few minutes later. "Sorry about that, just had to pop into the human world, see what needed doing," said Widget, who was now carrying sheets of paper with hundreds of notes and diagrams. What are they?" I asked, a little confused, as he didn't have them when he disappeared. "These are all the things that need doing, with measurements and numbers and bits and pieces needed." "Wait a minute. You only got a few minutes. There's no way you could have measured all that," pointing at all the paperwork. That's something else you must learn, said Uncle Twotrees, who was amused at my confused expression. Time in plant world is quite different from your human world. I looked at him and said, time is time. 1 hour is made up of 60 minutes and 1 day is 24 hours long, I replied. Not so in plant world. Over here, 1 second is the same as 1 hour in your human world. That's when you go back, you'll find the clocks have hardly moved. He was right, of course, because I checked the next time I went over. It's no good. There's just too much to be done. I'll need Miss Wait neatly to organise everything and Barker to get things moving. Uncle Twotrees put out his thoughts, and within seconds Mr. Barker came running with knees up to his chest, which must have been difficult as he was wearing Wellington boots. I looked round and noticed that every plant person was wearing Wellington boots, even though the sun was shining. Barker had a number 1 haircut and a long moustache and looked very fit. In fact, he had muscles in places that I didn't know there were any, and he never stopped moving, even when standing still, as some muscles or other would be twitching or tensing. I felt exhausted just watching him. I asked Uncle Twotrees why he was called Parker and who was Miss Neatly. And these I will tell you all about in the next video. Bye bye for now.